This is genre and subgenre categories of writing level 2. So genre is a category. All writing falls into a category or genre. We will use 5 main genres and 15 subgenres. So here's the breakdown. Our genres are fiction, drama, nonfiction, folklore, and poetry. Those are the 5 genres. And underneath these, connected to them, are their subgenres. So in fiction, we have realistic fiction, historical fiction, science fiction, and fantasy. For drama, we have comedy and tragedy. For nonfiction, we have informational writing, persuasive writing, biography, and autobiography. For folklore, we have fairy tale, legend, tall tale, myth, and fable. And then the last one we have poetry, which is just a genre all on its own. So the 5 main genres again. Nonfiction, which is writing that is true, meaning not fake. Nonfiction is not fake. Fiction writing is imaginative or made up writing. So fiction, fake. Nonfiction, not fake. Folklore are stories once passed down orally. So the difference between fiction and folklore is that folklore was once told only orally. It was not written originally. Drama is a play or a script, so something that you'd see on TV or on stage, performed on stage, or maybe a TV show. And then poetry is writing concerned with the beauty of language. So we use figurative language, there's rhymes, there's meters, poetry is written differently than other types of writing. Now our nonfiction subgenres are not fake subgenres. Persuasive writing tries to influence the reader, or in other words, it's trying to convince the reader of something. Informational writing explains something, so you're just giving information over the subject. An autobiography is a life story written by oneself. So if you were to write about your own life and it's all true, it would be an autobiography. Now, a biography is writing about someone else's life. So if I was to write about your life, true events in your life, it would be a biography. The autobiography is written by the person it is about. A biography is someone that has written about someone else's life. To break down some of these words, we can look at Latin roots. So auto means self. Bio means life. And graphy means writing. So autobiography means self-life writing. If we were just to look at biography, it means life writing. Fiction subgenres are fiction, fake subgenres. Historical fiction is set in the past and based on real people and/or events. However, since it's fiction, that means it didn't actually happen. Science fiction has aliens, robots, futuristic technology, and/or spaceships, but it's not true. That's why it's science fiction. Realistic fiction has no elements of fantasy and could be true but isn't. So if we were to read a story about someone's life and it didn't include any type of fantasy element, then it's realistic fiction. And then fantasy has monsters, magic, or characters with superpowers. Our folklore subgenres. So folklore or folk tales are usually have an unknown author or will be retold or adapted by the author. That's a dead giveaway that it's a folk tale. Fables are short stories with personified animals, meaning animals that have human characteristics. So they can talk, they can do human things. And at the end of the story, there's usually a moral to the story. A myth will have gods or goddesses. It might give us some Greek god background, and it usually accounts for the creation of something, so the origins of life or the creation of the world. Continuing with folklore subgenres, a tall tale would be set in the Wild West or maybe in the American frontier. The main character's skill, size, strength is greatly over-exaggerated, and the exaggeration of these characters' skills or size or strength is humorous or funny. A legend is based on a real person or a place. The facts are stretched beyond non-fiction and are exaggerated in a serious way. So the difference between tall tale and legend is that the exaggeration is funny. In a legend, the exaggeration is serious. Continuing on, fairy tales have magic and or talking animals. It often starts with once upon a time, it's like fantasy but much older and often has a human main character. Fables also have talking animals, but fables are very short, so fairy tales are going to be longer than our fables. Now, dramas. Dramas are stories written in script form. For example, teacher, everyone take notes. Student A, I don't have a pen. The drama subgenres are comedy, which has a happy ending, and a tragedy, which has a death and sadness in the end. So let's review. Nonfiction is persuasive writing, informational writing, autobiography, and biography. Fiction is historical fiction, science fiction, realistic fiction, and fantasy. Folklore is myth, legend, tall tale, fairy tale, and fable. Drama is comedy and tragedy, and poetry has many subgenres, and we will not study those. So here's our practice. You're going to identify the genre and subgenre. A 5-paragraph essay where the student Bob Brady compares and contrasts dogs and cats. He provides a lot of information about both. The key word here is information. Since we're given information on dogs and cats, that means our genre would be nonfiction, and the subgenre would be informational. Go ahead and do the rest on your own. Science textbook. This science textbook contains much of the human knowledge of Earth and the universe. Number 3. As I was saying, by Augustus Gluten. Mr. Gluten writes a story of his humble origins as a child in Germany to his meteoric rise to power in the candy industry. Number 4. They Came from the Sun by Tom Mitchell. The story of a race of aliens that come to enslave the residents of Earth with their advanced weaponry. Only one teacher can stop them, but is it too late? The Ant and the Grasshopper, adapted by Chad Pelton. The really short story of an ant who works hard all summer to prepare for winter and a grasshopper who just plays. Winter comes and the grasshopper freezes to death. The moral is prepare today for tomorrow's needs. Bag Lunch by Dillard Perkins. It is the fictional story of 2 young African American girls living in Greensboro, North Carolina in 1960. One day, while waiting to buy food at a Woolworth's lunch counter, the girls find themselves at a significant crossroads in American history. Number 7. Sally Ann Thunder Ann Whirlwind, retold by Mitch Colwell. Sally Ann Thunder Ann Whirlwind was the toughest girl in the Wild West. She flosses with rattlesnakes and dries her clothes in a tornado. She's tougher than a 10-year-old steak. Read about her extraordinary adventures in this humorous text. Number 8. Reduce, Reuse, Reimagine by Sasha Marsh. In this essay, Marsh tries to convince people to do small things to help the environment. She gives readers many suggestions on how to live more eco-friendly and challenges readers to make the world a better place for future generations through small contributions. Number 9. Eric Vassar and the Educator's Rock by J.P. Tumblin. This is the first book in the Eric Vassar series. Eric goes to mage school and becomes a star student. He learns to play Penstrench, a football-like game played on flying platforms, and he fights to stop a growing evil within the school that will test his newfound magic powers. And 10. Journal of a Lumpy Kid by Ken Jiffy. In his first year of middle school, Hank Griffin, the main character of this story, deals with cooties, other bullies, running for a class election, and other problems that many middle school students face. Okay, let's check our answers. Number 2 was informational. Number 3 was autobiography. Number 4 was science fiction. Number 5 was fable. Number 6 was historical fiction. Number 7 was tall tale. Number 8 was persuasive writing. Number 9 was fantasy. And number 10 was realistic fiction.